Hey everybody! I want to talk about relationships a little bit today and actually talk about some of the components that you need to have a successful relationship. I'm mostly talking about romantic relationships today, but really a lot of these components go into other relationships as well. So the first thing is trust. Trust is probably one of the core foundations of a relationship. So without trust between you and your partner, that just can make a relationship toxic. So, I mean, that is probably in the top 3 of what is most important in a relationship. And along with that, what goes hand in hand is honesty. You need to be honest with your partner. And that includes not just telling the truth about something, but not omitting information. I mean, obviously there is a time to share different parts of your life or your past, and you have to wait until you're at a point where you're comfortable to do that. But I think that it's important for you to share parts of your past and kind of what you've been through, because that helps them to understand who you are and what makes you the person that you are today, because our past really do form who we are today. So definitely don't hide things from your partner, don't omit information, and then don't lie, because when you lie, you break that trust, and that is really hard to get back. And I actually feel like you can never fully get that trust back. There's always going to be that small bit in the back of their mind that's going to remember that time that you lied to them, even if they're not trying to do it like if they're not thinking about it all the time. But I think subconsciously it's there because it's happened. It's an experience that they had with you, and so that's always going to be there. So just be honest. Another thing is being upfront about what you want in a relationship and having similar life goals. Having some things in common, but not everything in common. You want to have your own amount of space. But if one of you wants to travel all of the time and the other person is a complete homebody and doesn't enjoy travel, that's probably not going to work out the best, unless you're both somebody who like a lot of a part-time in a relationship. And so that's okay. Some people like that. Some people like having a lot of freedom and time to themselves and really don't mind being away from their partner that long. And if that's something that you share in common, then that's great. But you guys have to establish those things in the beginning of what's important to you. Obviously, one thing that's really important to discuss is the level of commitment that you're looking for. Are you looking for something casual? Are you looking for something semi-serious? Are you looking to get married in a year? Like, how serious are you about the relationship, and what are your goals or expectations? Also, when it comes to life goals, like I said, does someone want to travel a lot? Do you want to own a home? Do you want to move to a different state? Do you plan on staying in the same state? Do you want kids? Do you not want kids? These are all really important things, because if you're not working together towards the same things, then that can really ultimately lead you guys to grow apart in the future and probably end up splitting ways. So having common goals is really important, and being on the same page. Being in a relationship, it's almost like having a business partner. So it's good for one of you to have strong skills in one area and the other to have strong skills in another area. So that way you guys complement each other. You don't have to be exactly alike. You don't have to love all of the same things. It's nice to have different things to do so you guys can have space for your own things. That way you don't suffocate each other. But But really, you guys are going to share a life. So a lot of times there's expenses. There's the financial side of things. So you guys have to work together on that. There's the operations of life. Just the day-to-day. Do you have pets? Do you have kids? Who's gonna take care of what? The cooking, the cleaning, the yard work. You guys will have to ultimately, split that up and really work together to achieve life and to achieve your goals in life. So do you guys wanna own a home? Do you wanna own a boat? Do you wanna travel? Do you wanna go see the world? Again, there are so many different things, and you have to have common goals to work towards. Again, you do want that time that you can spend apart. So, if you enjoy scrapbooking and he enjoys gaming, it's good for you guys to have your own time apart. That is completely healthy for a relationship and sometimes so necessary just for people to recharge. That leads me into one of the next things is you don't want to suffocate or be too needy. You're responsible for your own happiness. And if you start putting the expectation on your partner to make you happy, and that's the only thing that you're relying on, that is a huge mistake. It's not fair to them. You control your own happiness. And you really have to love yourself and be happy with who you are before you're in any successful relationship. Because you can only expect someone to love you as much as you love yourself. And if you feel like you're undeserving of love, then that's what you're going to attract. And that's what you're gonna look for. You're gonna find all of the reasons that you think that that person may not love you or they may not respect you. Whatever it is that you have in your mind there that you think that you're worthy or unworthy of. And if you don't love yourself, then you're probably going to look for in the other person all of the reasons that they don't love you, even if they do, because that's just where your mind is. So before getting in a relationship, you do want to be at peace with yourself and even in love with yourself. You have to know what's important to you, what your life goals are, and you have to choose someone who's going to be a part of that, who's going to make you a better person, and who's going to contribute to that and also support it. So that leads me into another thing is support. Support is huge. I always just try to listen in any of my relationships, listen to the other person's side of things and let them be who they are and support their decisions. Obviously give feedback if you think there's something that's, a poor idea, or if someone gets involved with like drugs and alcohol and has a problem and they need help, then obviously you would want to step in at that time. For the most part, like if somebody wants to go to school, if they want to further their education, if they're looking to do something different in their career, just be supportive of whatever you can. There are times that people are going to come to you and they're going to have bad days. They're going to have times that they're upset, and not everybody is happy all of the time. And sometimes there's nothing that you can do about that, but support goes a long way. Just letting your partner know that you're gonna be there for them no matter what, and you support whatever they do, that can mean so much in that time when they're feeling down. So be supportive. Don't ever try to control them. They are who they are, and you need to love them for that. If you're trying to mold somebody into something that you want, your picture of what's perfect, that's not right. You just need to end that relationship and move on. You need to accept the person for who they are. Now, obviously, if there are things that, like little tweaks that need to happen, then communicate that and see if you guys can come to an agreement. So obviously, if someone is a heavy drinker, like you can't control that, but you can address that. You can talk to your partner about it and say, you know, I'm really concerned because of X, Y, and Z, and it makes me feel X, Y, Z about the situation, and you know, I'd like for you to get help, or how can we work on this? And really, again, you're responsible for your happiness. So if that's not something that you can deal with, that person, if they're not going to change, then you need to have enough respect for yourself to say, okay, this relationship is not going to work for me, and you need to leave the relationship if that's what you choose to do. I mean, that's up to you. If you're happy staying in the relationship and you can deal with that and it's not a big deal to you, then that's great. But don't try to control the other person and change them. You know, you can bring it to their attention and tell them why it makes you unhappy or why it makes you concerned, and they can make a choice to change themselves, but you should never try to change somebody. I was in a relationship in the past. Some of you know that I've been married before, and there were some issues, and it bothered me for a long time. He knew that it bothered me, but he continued to do it. And finally I had to come to a point where I said, you know, this needs to stop. Like, I'll help you get help if that's what needs to happen. But I can't live like this. And so I expressed myself. Took me way longer than it should have. I mean, he knew that I was unhappy about it, but still continued to do it. And I never went and, until that point, I hadn't said, you know, I can't do this anymore. So I didn't want to have to change him. I wanted him to have to change if he wanted to. And I knew that it would be better for his health. And I hoped that he would want to change for the better. But that's not what he was ready for in his life. And I was very unhappy living with that situation. So I had to gather the strength to say, if you're not wanting to change, that's completely okay. You go do you and be happy, but I can't be by your side while you do that. And it was a really tough thing for me to do. And I'm sure that it was tough for him too. But it's just something that I had to come to face back with, and just, you know, make a decision. Forever, I thought that he would change. I was just like, it's just a matter of time. As he gets older, he'll change, he'll grow out of it. Like, I thought that it would go away. I thought that by him seeing that it made me unhappy, it would change. And really, people aren't going to change unless they want to change. And if they do try to change for you, and it's not something that they want, they will resent you. And they will show it in everything that they do. And that actually happened for a period of time, when I got to the point where I was like, I can't do this anymore. He tried to make a change, but he resented me so much, and he would say such hurtful things, and he was always so angry at me. And finally I just said, if you're gonna act like this, then go back to the way that you were. But I can't do it either way. I can't deal with the problem that you have, and I can't deal with you treating me this way, and I have too much respect for myself. So the relationship had to end. So again, it's something that happened in that relationship as well, is we had talked and we had said that we wanted to do all of these things. And so it seemed like we had similar life goals. But he wasn't honest with me about what he actually wanted in life, or he wasn't really willing to work towards it. So it was like I was working towards it, and he was talking about it, but not really doing anything to get there. So as a team, we just weren't working very well together. So it's really important in a relationship also to acknowledge things and accept it. And fear often gets in the way in relationships. whether it's fear to talk about something, fear to, fear that it's gonna end, fear that you can't do it alone if it's over. There are so many things that fear holds us back from, especially in relationships. And it's really important to be honest with yourself and kind of face those fears, because fear, it doesn't help anybody. It's not doing any good. It doesn't get you anywhere. So just try to be strong and get through it. And again, be honest. Another key thing is communication. You want to communicate with your partner. Like I said, I had, in that relationship, he knew that I was unhappy about things, but it took me too long to communicate just how unhappy I was about it. And I take full responsibility for that, because I was afraid. I was afraid of being alone. I was afraid of failing in my marriage. There was just a lot of fear behind everything, so I really just kept it inside, which also made me resent him a little bit. So, looking back, I should have communicated earlier. I should have communicated way before we even got married, really how upset I was. And I should have had the courage to say, hey, this is not gonna work if it continues like this. And really, it probably would have saved both of us a lot of hurt. So unfortunately, I didn't do that, but that's why I'm passing on this advice to you guys. Understanding. Now there comes a level of understanding and compromise in any relationship that you need to have to make it successful. So you want to give 90% of yourself to the other person. In my relationships, I am always thinking about the other person, and not only how my decisions are going to affect my life, but how they're going to affect them, because we're a team and we need to work together so we will respond and adapt together. So if you're getting ready to have a major life change, if you're thinking about changing jobs, if you're, decide that it's time to maybe want to have kids, if something medically is going on, if you want to buy a new car, if you want to go back to school, any of those things are really going to affect your partner too. You guys are in this together, and so you need to discuss it together, discuss the possible outcomes, and I really hope that your partner would be supportive, especially if you're supportive of them, and usually it can be. Most of the time they will be if you're in the right relationship. So talk about those things with your partner, communicate. You guys can talk about the pros and cons of things together and how it's going to affect your life together, and then you can make those decisions. But it is really important to think about how it's going to affect them, and then also making compromises. So if your partner decides that they want to go back to school, so that way you guys can have a better future, so they can get a better job, it's going to take a lot of time away from the relationship. Obviously, they're not going to be home as much. They're probably going to be tired all the time. They're probably working a full-time job, or maybe you're going to be the breadwinner while they're off going to school, so that way they can better your future later down the line. But that's something that you guys are going to have to agree to together, and you may have to make that compromise and make sacrifices for that. So you guys may have to cut back on spending. You may not be able to go get your nails and your hair done and all of those things. If you guys decide that you want to buy a home and the mortgage is more, again, you may have to cut back on certain things in your life. You may have to cut back on time with your friends or with your family. If you guys end up moving to another state and you're really close with your family, and your family is where you live now, there are just sacrifices that you'll have to make, and it's really important to be supportive of your partner make compromises, but not to a level where it's going to make you unhappy. It just has to be like really well-rounded, and that is why communication, I think, is the second core component to any relationship. And then respect. You do need to respect your partner, and also respect yourself. So you have to know what you want in life, what's important to you in a relationship, and respect yourself enough to communicate with that other person if they're not meeting that. Also, you need to respect them as the person. If you can find someone who's your best friend and you just completely admire and respect the person that they are, that is going to lead you to just be so happy in your relationship. It's just really important. All of these things are super important. And one of, I would probably say the third biggest thing is appreciation. Show your partner appreciation. Show them how much you love them. Show them how much you care about them. And I'm not talking about always going out and getting them, buying them material goods. Show them affection. Don't let the affection die. Don't let the love die. Show them how much you care about them through little things that you do. Leave them a note. Send them a text, an email. Give them a random call just to tell them that you're thinking about them. Tell them how much you appreciate them with your words. So it may be a day-to-day thing that a lot of people expect. So you were, watching the kids all day, had to take them to soccer practice or whatever the case may be, and you come home and your spouse has cleaned the house. Tell them, I really appreciate you cleaning the house today. Thank you so much. People love to be acknowledged and appreciated. That goes so far in all relationships. I know that, especially for me at work, feeling appreciated drives me to do a better job. In my relationships, it actually inspires me to do more. I'm like, okay, they really liked that, and I'm a people pleaser, so I'm like, what else can I do, to make their life easier or to brighten up their day? Just always be thinking about that other person and, how you can put a smile on their face for the day. Again, don't let the affection die. Really keep that alive, because that can go so far. They talk about elderly people in elder homes. When I was in massage school, we actually used to go, and even though a lot of them had contraindications for massage, we would just go, and just the simple touch, simple like holding someone's hand or, patting them on the shoulder, giving them a hug, can go so far and make people just feel so much better. So don't let that affection die. I guess that kind of sums it up. I hope that this information is helpful, and I hope that you keep all of these things in mind in your relationships, or even if you're looking for a relationship. If you're single right now, girl, boy, whatever, write down what you want in a spouse or partner, and write down the things you don't want in a spouse or partner. Create that person in your mind. Look at that list every single day. And then as you meet people, if you go on a date, then you have an idea of what you want already, and go through that list and see, do they meet this? Don't settle. And nobody's going to be perfect. There might be a couple of things on the list that they aren't, but there are going to be, some things that are definitely non-negotiable. And it's really good to have that list handy and help keep you in check. Because I know that when I did online dating, I would go out on a date, and then, I might be like really excited, like, oh yeah, it was a really good date. And then, you know, as I talk to them, then I go and I like look at my list and I'm like, well, they don't really need this, or they don't need this, or they do this, which I don't really like. So I'm really settling, and it just kind of helped bring things into perspective and kind of get over those like initial excitement. And it was really helpful. So I guess that about sums it up, guys. I want to thank you so much for watching. As always, I love you guys so much. Please don't forget to like and then share this video with anyone who may benefit from it. Or if you just want to share it in general, that would be awesome.